You're building schools. Wouldn't the communities and the students be more invested if they actually built the schools themselves? Could you provide them the materials and then have them build it?
The, the, that's a very vexing philosophical question, especially from our point of view. In 80% of every village you will go to in Africa, that's a high number, you will find skeletons of buildings that are not completed. Foundations and nothing else. Foundations and windows, they've run out of material, they've run out of money, or they've run out of the skill to build it. So all of that investment has been a total waste. So we find that you shouldn't be waiting for schools 2 years, 5 years. And by the way, one village had a 50-year plan for one school. You shouldn't be waiting. So by having a professional company like we formed, like our own construction company, we can go in and from zero, from the time we arrived, the school is built in 6 weeks. So they get a full school, they get toilets for boys, girls, teachers, they get electricity, and they get computers, and they get printers, all in 6 weeks. So they can literally start immediately. Obviously, provision is made for teachers before all that is done. But the question is, would they not have more commitment if they're able to build it themselves? And I find that question a very good question, but it's also a vexing one, because it presumes something. So the answer I would give is, did you build your school? Did your parents build their school? Did your grandparents build their school? Nobody built their school. That school was there for the kindergartens when they first started. That school was there for the intermediate kids when they went to the next level, and the next level for the middle schoolers, and the next level for the high schoolers. There was an expectation that all that is provided by the community. Now, people might argue, yes, we understand that, but our grandparents and our parents paid for that by tax. So that's the reason why we don't build our own schools. And the answer to that is absolutely right, but go back to the 1900s in America, how many people paid tax? Go back to your grandfather's time, how many people paid tax? Back to your own parents' time, how many people? Currently today, it's estimated that between 40 and 45 million Americans don't pay tax. Should they build their own schools because they don't pay tax? So it's not a character question of where if you don't build it, if you don't make it, you don't have an investment. I find attitudes like that to be insensitive. What is important here is that you must give people the opportunity and the skills and the equipment to make the best decisions. So let's look at our own community. We have very good schools, we have very good universities, we have very good equipment, and we give all these children all the opportunities. So how many go to university? How many don't finish high school? So within our own perfect world, where we have everything kind of good, we still have people who don't finish. It's a choice for whatever reason that they make for not doing it. We have to give the same choices to people. When I build a school, I can't go back and say, let me look at your grades, let me look at this, let me look at... It's an individual choice or a family choice as to whether they want to be educated or not. I've done my job by saying, this is how you get educated, and here are the tools to do it. And I don't go into the vexing question, by the way, you didn't build your school, so therefore there's something wrong with your character. I don't know of any American who built his own school. Have I answered your question?
Absolutely, absolutely. Let me ask you this question. You receive what proportion of your overall funding from the United States?
We receive about 30% from Europe, and the balance that is from the US. The reason why we receive from Europe, because I come there myself and I go back and I badger them, and I'm merciless when I say I need money, because we need to build schools and we need to educate children. But for me, the grotesque thing is the human waste. If we think of forget about the human waste within our own community, somehow that's kind of self-induced because we take decisions. In Africa, the millions of children who are born and died and who did not receive education, you've got to look at the human waste. And if we're not affected by that, if somehow we can say, No, I'm more interested in the movie I'm going to for this weekend. No, I'm more interested in this kind of shoes that I buy. By the way, you should be interested in the movie you go. You should be interested in the shoes. But we're multi-complex people. We can do 4 things at the same time, not just 2. Not just 1, which is ourselves. We can do 2, 3, 4, and 5 things. I mean, just look at what an average human being is. I'm talking about an adult. An adult could be a husband or a wife, a father or a mother, a teacher. If you're a mother, you're certainly 55 things. You're a doctor, you're a dentist, you're everything. So we are already intuitively multifunctioned anyway. So why can't we just look at all these children and saying, isn't anybody going to do anything? No. What are you doing about it? And if you don't step up, you almost have the right not to ask the question. I'm not saying you haven't the right to, but I'm talking in a moral sense. You don't have the right to ask the question. Say, isn't anybody doing something? What are you doing? And if you do it, then you have the moral right to. Even within your own community, as long as you're doing something for your own sick, your own unemployed, and your own homeless, my God, you have the right to ask that question. Gee, I'm busy here. I really don't want to help them out there. That's legit, and please do it. But do not do nothing here and do nothing there. It's almost a moral issue here, right? Sorry, I'm going on about it.
How does Build Africa Schools promote its message? I mean, how do you communicate and promote this business?
Well, we've been very, very lucky. When we started off, we were nothing. I mean, how do I, as a stranger to you, ask you to give money to a stranger? If we were the Red Cross, if we were big organizations, there's an instant recognition, then there's an instant trust. Here I am asking you to give me money to go to Africa, and you have no idea what I'm doing about it. That was really the big issue for us. And we found that the answer, I wouldn't say the answer is simple because no answers are simple, but we found an easier answer to that question is that, well, if we could involve you in what we do, if you could see what we do, then you might help. We never ask you for money, by the way. We always say, we built the school, would you like to help us build the next one? But we show you that school because we formed our own film crew. We invested in cameras and sound and equipment, and we literally go out there and make films. And we show to you, we show you the children, we show you the parents, we show you the local community. We show you what it's like before the school, and we show you what it's like during the school as it's been put together. And then we show you what it's like for the kids in their brand new uniforms and their brand new classroom, and they're all excited. And we go back 3 months, 6 months later, and we shoot some more, and we find that there are problems, and the problems are the 40 kids have become 50 in the classroom, and we go back and a few months later, and that's 60, and we say, God, there's a limit to what kids can receive from an education point of view. The record we have, not to do with our school, by the way, the record, and we have photographs to prove it because no one believes it. The record we have is 400 students in one class, 1 teacher and 1 person who disciplines them. Sit down, don't move, listen to the teacher. 400, and we have 4 photographs to prove it. That's an absurd extreme of the problem, but if that happens, you can't learn. So we try to encourage the 40, but success. All our schools are too small before we build them. We're kind of a failure before we start, but that's the failure I want to be. Somebody asks, well, how do we know it's successful? My God, in most African countries there are local and national examinations, almost on a yearly basis. Our schools are 4 years old, 3 years old, 2 years old, 1 year old, 1 month old. And our students are getting the best in math. Our students are getting the best in writing and essays. Our students are getting the best in science. And the oldest school is only 4 years. This is a miracle. And I'm hoping as time goes on, we'll get more and more and more. So we've been very lucky. We use a lot of photography, a lot of film. We go to high schools and universities, and we go to Fortune 500 companies, and we have brown bag lunches with them. We get their senior executives and saying, don't move, but only think the way I want you to think for the next hour, and watch what I have and listen to what I say. And I don't want any money from you. I just want your help. So that help can come in various forms. It need not come in money. Now, another question that we've been asked, people want to volunteer and go out. We don't allow volunteers, because volunteers equals half-built buildings. So we formed our own co-op company, construction company. There's 12 guys in it, brickies, plumbers, carpenters, roofers. They own the company. We have nothing to do with it. And it's a co-op, and that's the core building team. So when we get funding to build a school in this village, they will literally travel there, have their own tents, and they will live and sleep there for the 6 weeks. And in their salary is $1 for food. And that dollar is given to the ladies of the village, and the ladies buy the food, and they cook it, and they do their laundry for that period of time they're there. And it's a unique arrangement. I don't know of anybody else who's doing what we're doing. I'm sure they're out there, but I don't know of them. But for us, it's efficient, it's structured, it's economic, and it's emotional. But emotion is the least of those critical things. What we call emotion is the sea, and everything else floats on it, because you can't run this without being committed. You can't run something like this and not feel the consequences, or not see the consequences of it. The consequences of our lives. People who are born, live and die, and no one knows about it. I want people to scream about it. I want people to know that these people lived, and I want to know that we did not stand by, and I want people to know that when the time came, we put our hands up and we said yes.